This is my sister. Her name is Sihama Bawad. She's from the village of Bet Umar near Hebron. My name is Rami El-Hanan. What makes us brother and sister is the fact that both of us have paid the highest price possible as a result of the conflict between our two nations, between the Palestinians and the Israelis, which creates a special bond, a special treaty, which is a very deep emotionally, and it means a lot to us. My name is Rami El-Hanan. I'm 60 years old, graphic designer, living in Jerusalem. I was born in Jerusalem, 7th generation. I'm a Jew, I'm an Israeli, and before anything else, I am a human being. 36 years ago, I was a very young soldier fighting a horrible war across the Suez Canal with a company of tanks that have started this war, October 73 war, with 11 tanks, and finished it with only 3. And I lost over there.
Tutti capiamo?
Yeah.
11 per il mare.
Sì, parla del suo come
If you
esperienza
don't
di
understand
guerra.
anything, don't hesitate to stop me. I repeat. Try to make it easier. So this was a horrible war, and I lost in the desert of Sinai some of my very close and best friends. And I came out. Sorry, no problem. And I came out of this war a very angry and bitter young man. I was determined to detach myself from any kind of connection or involvement, to mind my own business and look after my own interest. I finished my studies, I got married, and I had 4 kids. 26 years ago, my daughter was born in Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem. Her name was Smadar. Smadar, the name is taken from the Bible, from the Song of Solomon. It means the grape of vine. It's the smell of the vine. She really was a very sparkling and joyful and happy little girl, very beautiful. She was an excellent student, she was a dancer, she was a swimmer. Everybody used to call her the princess. And in fact she was the center of our family. Her 3 brothers, my wife, which is a professor in the Hebrew University for education, and these 3 boys, we were all living very quietly, very sheltered, within this big bubble that we put ourselves into it, completely detached from the outside world, sheltered and isolated. And this went on until about 13 years ago. On the 4th of September 1997, Thursday afternoon, this bubble of ours was blown up to millions of pieces by 2 Palestinian suicide bombers who blew themselves up in Ben Yehuda Street in Jerusalem, which is in the center of town. They have killed 5 people that day, including 3 little girls. One of these girls was my 14 years old Smadam. At first, when you hear about the explosion, you keep hoping that this time this finger will not turn towards you. Then you find yourself running in the streets, trying to find her. She disappeared. And you are going from hospital to hospital, from police station to police station, many long and frustrating hours, until eventually, very, very later that night, you find yourself in the morgue, and this finger is stuck right between your eyes, and you see this sight which you will never ever be able to forget for the rest of your life. And then you come back home, and the house is filled with thousands of people coming to pay respect, to offer condolences. These are the 7 days of the Jewish mourning, the Shiva, and you are enveloped by these thousands of people. This goes on for day and night, 7 days, but on the 8th day everybody goes back to their normal life. Suddenly you are left alone, and you have to stand up, and you have to wake up, and you have to face yourself, and you have to make a decision. What are you going to do now with this new burden on your shoulders? What are you going to do now with this new personality of yourself, which you never thought could have existed? What are you going to do now with this anger that eats you alive from within? There are only two options to choose from. The first one is obvious. When someone kills your 14 years old little kid, you are so angry and you want to get even. This is natural, this is human, this is the way most people choose, the way of revenge and retaliation. But then after a while you start to think, because you know we are people, we're not animals, we can use our heads, and you start asking yourself questions. Will killing anyone will bring her back? Will causing pain to anyone will ease in any way this unbearable pain? Well, the answer is certainly not. So in a very graduate process, you come to the other option, which is much more complicated, much more difficult. Trying to understand what happened here. Why did it happen? How could such a horrible thing take place? What can cause someone to be that angry, that mad, that he's willing to blow himself up with little girls? And then the most important question of them all. What can you do personally in order to prevent this unbearable pain from others? Well, easier said than done. It takes time. It took me almost a year. Foolishly enough at the beginning I thought that I could go back to my life, to live a normal life, to go back to my work. But nothing was normal anymore. I was not the same person anymore. It took me about a year, and about a year later I met a big man who changed my life completely. His name was Yitzhak Frankenthal. He was a religious Jew, you know, with a kippah on the head. You know how you tend to put people into drawers and stigmatize people. Someone with a kippah on his head is automatically a fascist, a right-winger, an Arab eater for breakfast. We started talking. He told me about his son, Arik, who was kidnapped and murdered by Hamas in '94. And about this organization of people who lost their loved ones and still wanted peace and believed in peace and fought for peace. And he invited me over to watch a meeting of this group of crazy people. And I did not want to insult him, and I was a little bit curious, and I said okay. And I went to see. It was 12 years ago. It was a big meeting. People came in by buses. I was standing aside, very detached, very reluctant, very cynical, looking at those people coming down from the buses. And from the buses came down people that for me, as an Israeli patriot, were always living legends, people that I used to look up to them and admire them, people that I used to read about them in the newspapers, and I never ever thought that one day I will become one of them. People who lost their loved ones and still believed in peace and fought for peace. But then I saw something which was completely new to me, and every time I say it I feel ashamed again and again. I was 47 years old at the time. It was the first time ever in my life I met Palestinians as human beings. I saw the Palestinian bereaved families coming down from the buses, coming towards me, shaking my hand for peace, hugging me, crying with me, and I was completely shocked. I saw people who are exactly the same as I am, who suffer exactly like I suffer.